Network Entertainment.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning to wherever you are listening or watching my podcast from here in the Philippines and from all over the world. And welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I like to speak to trailblazing business leaders and entrepreneurs to find out more about how they think about doing business. What are their success secrets? Can we replicate those success secrets for ourselves? And more importantly, what business opportunities do they see emerging in the near future? And I'm always very, very inspired to see very successful entrepreneurs. And today I have one here together with me in the podcast. She's actually together with me. We belong to the same chapter of BNI, which is Business Network International. That is a professional networking and referral organization. And we belong to the BNI Elite chapter based out of Taguig. So please welcome my good friend over here, Miss Zonito Tamase. Miss Zonito, welcome to the podcast. I've been looking forward to having you over here.
Awesome. Thank you for the privilege, RJ.
Well, thanks for joining us here, Zonito. Before everything else, for those who are watching us live, you can see the product of Zonito. She's actually the founder, right? You're the
Yes.
founder, the president, the everything
Yes.
of
The driver.
the driver, even up to the delivery person when you start up the business of M2.
Yes.
What exactly does M2 stand for?
M is moringa.
Mhm.
The two is okra and luya.
Okra and luya. So this is a health drink.
Yes.
And I actually wanted you to share with us right now. In a nutshell, I know that you've given some elevator pitches in the past to people.
Yes.
And often we tell people an elevator pitch is something that you can say in about 30 seconds. You're going up the elevator with a CEO and you're trying to pitch them to invest in the company. What exactly is M2 in a nutshell?
M2 is a healthy ice drink. And it's in a bottle, all the vegetables that you don't like to eat, like malunggay, okra, and luya. But we put it together in such a way that it's a formula, that it's really delicious, surprisingly delicious, and refreshingly nutritious. It's available in ready to drink or in concentrate, which is also made with muscovado.
Wow.
Or if you're diabetic, you also have stevia.
The stevia
Yes.
alternative over here. And the interesting thing about your product is that you can just drink it like during this can be like instead of doing an iced tea
Yes.
in lunch. This is your healthier alternative for it.
Yes.
Okay, I know it's grown a lot, and we'll share about the story of M2 in just a bit. But just give us an idea right now. Just how many bottles do you produce a day, and just where are you being distributed right now?
We produce from the 300 or 100 per day. It's now 3,000 per day.
Wow.
And we're all in the groceries, at the same time, drugstores.
Fantastic. So check out M2 in your groceries or drugstores right now. And before that, now let's get into I often call it your secret origin or that story, no?
Yeah.
I want to start off by asking again my usual question for entrepreneurs and people with the entrepreneurial mindset. I really want to find out what pain point were you trying to solve, or what was the problem or the opportunity that you saw based on your own lens, based on your own
Yes.
experience that made you come up with this one?
Yes. I was way back 2005. I
Mhm.
was working for a fast food.
Mhm.
And when I joined, I wasn't so sick. And then for quite some years, I've been really very sick. And the reason
What kind of sick were you?
or the lifestyle, so you have like you develop diabetes,
Mm,
and then you
okay.
develop hypertension and stuff, and then you have a headache, migraine, and suddenly you find yourself in the hospital emergency rooms
Mhm.
at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's like taking medication from one tablet to 10 tablets a day.
Oh my.
It's like, wow, what's happening to me? And so I went to my doctor and said, can you help me out? Because I don't want to, continue to increase my medication. And she said, you have to change your lifestyle. I said, it's difficult because, I work in a different field and it's crisis management all the time. So travel here and there, then you lack sleep. And she said, but you can also include a better nutrition.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, so if it's a better nutrition, which means eating a lot of vegetables. And so when I did that, during that time, there was no internet yet. It was intranet.
Intranet.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I remember those times.
So then I would check out, I research on what is the most what is the most nutritious vegetable.
Mhm.
And it came out, it says moringa. And during that time, I did not know what moringa was about. And so I researched what's moringa, and then you go, Tagalog for moringa, it's malunggay. And I go, wow. Because then I found out that you have 47 phytonutrients. So I said, okay, I'll try it. So I bought malunggay and, tinola. It's not just that, tinola. I was like, have you tasted omelette? Malunggay omelette.
Not just yet. Kami, is it good?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
great.
it is. I've created almost everything with malunggay.
Okay.
And then I got so parang nakakapagod na. So I said, why don't I make it as an tea?
A tea.
So, yeah. So
And this is just for your own personal consumption
it's
at this
just,
time.
Yeah, it's just for me. And then I made it into tea. And then the first boiling that I did was so bitter that I cannot drink it. And so I said, I cannot give up. So I said, maybe I should try putting some ice, and then I had honey, and then I had calamansi and stuff. And then when I mix it together, I was like, wow. And I was like, this is so good. And so I did. That's what I did. I continued to just put it in a bottle and brought it to my office on my travel. And then after 6 months, I went back to my doctor. And she said, you know what? Do you feel something better with yourself? I said, yes. I mean, because look at your blood tests.
Your blood works
results.
were much
My
better.
works, yeah.
Well, what did you see? I don't mind. Like for myself, I get tested regularly. But what did you see actually went improved?
I looked at specifically. I look at my cholesterol level. I look at my blood sugar level. And then the usual, the feeling in your BP, like sometimes, because I know when it's I have a high blood pressure, because my ears turn red.
Oh wow.
And technically, it's like I feel like it's so hot, and then I look at the mirror, and it's really red. So those were the things that were gone. So from 10 medications, my doctor just decided
dropped down.
to drop down to 5.
Wow. Okay.
And so today I'm just drinking 2. So that's like 20 years ago, and I'm still the same, which means it really works, and which means it's really nutrition that you need.
So it was the malunggay concoction which worked
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
And at this time, when you developed that concoction, you were still employed in the fast food
Yes,
company.
yes.
Okay. So tell me what the journey was from there. What egged you on now from being somebody employed, which is not hard, which is not easy, being somebody who's
Yeah.
employed to eventually moving on to somebody who puts up her own business.
Yes. I remember one of the meetings that we had in that fast food. They showed us if we stay longer, like if you have a retirement, and it's like 10 years from now. That was 10 years from now. And I'd show you how much you're going to earn. And I said, what? In my retirement, I'm going to be old. I have so much medication. And then that should only, sustain me for the next 5 years. What if God gives me more life to that, right? So I said, no, I have to do something. And
Or what
then
if God gives you more problems,
Yeah.
right? For you to
Yeah.
gives you more challenges. Oh.
Yeah. And so I remembered my doctor said to me, you know what, Zonito, if I were you, I'll make it a business.
So your doctor was actually the one who gave you the idea,
Yeah.
but pinatikim mo sa doctor mo yung ano mo?
Actually, no.
Ah, okay.
But what she looked at, when she would look at me and she saw me, she said, alam mo, ibang klase kang pasyente. Because you really tried to be better. And you really helped yourself. And you know that it's malunggay, it's helping you out. Why don't you make it as a business?
I see,
And then
I
I
see.
just laughed and said, Doc naman, ano? And she said, you know why? Because I cannot prescribe people and say, you just take malunggay and then you feel better. It's not just like that. And so from there I said, okay nga no. So it was a connection between retirement and the consistency of when you retire, you don't have income. And the consistency of, what if you have a business? And that business will now become a focus of your income.
Okay.
So then you'll be okay. And plus, I feel better. So, that was the turning point.
Okay, tell me, when you made the initial jump, because there are many entrepreneurs listening here right now,
Yes.
they're like you, maybe they've got a side hustle or they got a product.
Yeah.
When do they know it's time? Because like, for example, some other people, they say, okay, if my side hustle is making almost
Yeah.
equal to or better than my salary in my day job, I'll move. But
Yeah.
for you, did you wait for that option or you just jumped ship and went straight into producing your own product?
it's like jumping from nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Really, my that was like I didn't have enough savings to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not have a future of what I wanted to do. But there was such a belief in the product
Mm-hmm.
that kasi when I was doing that, I was doing tiangge.
Mm-hmm.
And people were tasting it and they always buy. No one said, no, I don't want it because it doesn't taste well. So I said, if I do not quit, I will parang make it longer for me.
I see. I see.
So I have to quit even if I don't have that forecast. But since I believe in the product, then I will do it. So nag-jump ship talaga ako na walang nothing.
I see. So
Yeah.
when you jumped ship, at the time you were sort of testing a bit the product out. You were doing like test market on the product in Tianguis. I know.
Yes.
I recall you even tested. You said you did test out in
Yes.
my market in Mercato for a bit.
Yes.
Oh.
And yes, and that's where, fascinating because in Mercato, what we did was just have free tasting. And diba, during the time in BGC, by the time na it's 2 a.m.,
Mm-hmm.
that's just like a closing something. But diba, we open at 4 or 6, and then by the time na 10 o'clock, we don't have anything to sell anymore.
Wow. Wow.
So that
So
was,
that was your pilot market,
yes.
and you were still employed at that time.
Yes.
Okay, so you were just like trying to feel the water a bit, just to see before you totally jump ship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. I see.
Yes.
So tell me a bit more. When you finally jumped ship, what did you do? Because people are wondering right now. Okay, where did she get the labor? Where did she get the initial capital? How did you actually get things going?
Yeah. So the first I decided was to, because I was doing it in my house, in my condo, and I was doing it like 10 bottles, 20 bottles, 30 bottles, and then from then on, parang dumami na siya, and then the elevator guy made sumbong to the admin, and he said, Zonito is creating traffic in the elevator of her products. So I was called and I said, you know what, mom, you cannot make it anymore in your condo. Plus, it's a hazard because maybe fire and stuff like that. So you have to find a place. So I was looking for a place and I found one place in Mandaluyong and I rented it out. And how did I rent it out? I had no money. I was relying on my salary. So if there's a salary, syempre dun mo kinuha lahat, even your staff. So it was parang gulong. And because I don't have a capital, right? So but I used whatever I had in my salary.
Wow.
But it wasn't like a smooth sailing because I wasn't full time. And I asked my cousin to do it for me. And so I had to fold the company because it wasn't making money.
So that was the first
Yeah.
trip that, I mean, first tuition fee.
Yes.
When the company closed down. So initially
Yeah.
you had M2, but you had to close down your
Yes.
first company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that?
That you do not trust your own family.
Yeah, it happens. I guess it
Yeah.
happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you really have to
it's
get professional.
difficult.
You have to get really professionals to run the business.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
difficult. Yeah. And so but then because I believe the product and I opened up the second one. And the second one, I guess
This is a second store, second warehouse, or factory.
this is the second company that has a different address and a different investor.
I see.
And the investor was said, okay, whatever you had, we'll invest. And then changed of ownership because he put in a lot of money. And so I became a minority. And then when I became a minority, I didn't have a decision anymore. So it was a decision to someone else doing the company. And my company during that time was making money because we were in SM in a weekend market. So imagine I was doing a work in a corporation, but my salary is, let's say, 150,000 is my salary. And then in my weekend market, I was making 1 million.
Wow.
So now you have to decide, okay, if somebody's gonna come in, that means I won't have that anymore because it's going to funnel into the company, right? So then that investor said, okay, I will just give you the salary, you sit down, do nothing else, but we'll run the company. But it didn't work. So I had to close down again.
So you closed on 2 times.
2 times,
Okay.
yeah.
So and what was the lesson learned for the second that you
Oh,
tuition fee for the second
no.
one?
It's the same thing. Never trust the business to anyone when it's not successful yet. But if it's not going into the right direction, stop doing it. You have to do it on your own. Get your hands talagang there all the time. Your eyes and ears there all the time.
Wow,
So
wow.
there. So
And then was the third time a charm?
yes, because I got married.
Oh, okay.
And
Tell,
so,
tell me more. Tell me a bit more about that.
so
So,
when-
how did marriage change your outlook on business?
oh, because then I didn't have the decision anymore. And when I have to do something creative and stuff like that, my husband would say, "No, let's think about it. Let's study about it." I said, "No, let's do it now." I said, "No." So now somebody now is telling me,
May balancing force ka.
may break na,
may
di
break,
ba?
oo.
And that was difficult for me because for so long I've always been deciding by myself, and getting married was it's fun to have a husband there with you, but it's also like a nightmare because then you cannot do anything anymore. But then I decided to say, okay, Lord, di ba? Ito naman, you've given me this marriage, and I also want this marriage to work and this business to work. And there it was. It was a totally transformed company.
Wow. Your description of being married is the same. How my wife describes me. You're fun, but you're a nightmare at the same time. So what made it different now? So it was the first two times. It's not don't trust. Even if it's family, it's not doesn't mean that's going to work out. The other one is that if the business isn't successful yet, maybe it's not time yet to give it to somebody else. What did you do differently over here that you think improved upon your two previous tuition fee lessons?
Yeah. When I got married, my husband, we're both Christians. And he introduced me to what he says a God's economy. And meaning when you say God's economy, it's really trusting God on what He wants you to do. So you pray over what you want to do. At the same time, you watch how God does it for you. And with that, kasama dun yung submission. Your wife submit to your husband, husband love your wife. So the part of our business became a faith, a journey of faith. Na let's say for example lang, which is true. I said, Lord, I really want a lot of like branches of a company that has about 600 or 800 stores, so that we can distribute M2. And then suddenly I got introduced to Undocs. And then Undocs became a distributor of M2. And that was one of the changing of our company, because with the distribution na mas madami sila. Although it's a kind of a slow, but it was slow and it was growing fast. Yeah.
Now, I'm just wondering, so when you initially got the product and you started to grow it, I'm just curious, was there anything that you were able to use? Because I often tell people sometimes, nothing is lost.
Yes.
Nothing is lost in terms of whatever experience that you had. And you did say that you worked in the fast food industry, in that category. Were you able to use any of the skill sets that you gained there when you moved forward in developing M2?
Yes, the very first thing I actually got from that was that you have to make sure that it's actually you have all the licenses. So when even if it was a small one, I went to the business center of the city hall. I went to BIR, and then I went to FDA.
This is the very first
The
iteration.
very beginning,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
the very beginning. So when I had that, the second time around, I would have to close it again and open it again. But because of my experience with my corporation that I was working with, it was important to have all this government documentation so that it can actually expand your business.
I see.
Yeah.
But was there also a point because I love that story now, when you really, because sometimes even for me, the best lesson you gain is when you fall down, right?
Yes.
And when you employ the growth mentality, it just means that failure is just a part of the spectrum towards
Yeah.
growth. Was there a point where you said to yourself, I don't want anymore. I want to go back to corporate life. I mean, this is a failure. Do you ever come to that point for you?
Yes. Actually, when we got married, it wasn't like a smooth sailing for the first time in our business. So there was a point when we said, me and my husband said, okay, if we cannot make it, because we were already short in our paying of our rents. So he said that if it doesn't work out anymore. Let's go back to our business,
To your day
work.
jobs.
Yeah, our day jobs.
So that was both of you working
Yeah.
on M2. Okay.
Yeah. So I said, yeah, let's do that. But then suddenly there came an email of someone else, and she was thanking us that it was great for her to find M2. And then she showed me a picture, and this picture was a freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And there were bags. And I didn't know what bags were there. And those are breast milk. And she was saying, because of the M2, when I drink it, I do produce a lot of breast milk and able to donate to hospitals.
Oh, wow.
I said, what? I said, I don't believe it. And I said, I know it's malunggay, but it's like something that I don't really, like to promote M2 for breastfeeding. Because I didn't want people to say, oh, ayoko nang uminom ng M2 because, I'm just going to have a breast. But it was doing something for us. And it turned the business around. It was the community of the lactating moms who were buying M2.
So you sort of found that niche over there. That was your strong niche, huh?
Yes.
The lactating moms.
Yes.
Wow.
And nothing. I mean, you did not really know about it. And that's what God's economy. Because then now God's showing you where you should be doing it.
So did you have to, number one, adjust your sort of your marketing strategy to appeal to lactating moms? And just how did you start to grow your business from there?
Ito because nga sobrang our first year and second year, I did not have enough money to even buy a cell phone. That's a really like cell phone now. I don't have Facebook during that time. Talagang ano ba yun? It was just like
text ka lang.
Na. And then when we were able to purchase a better phone, somebody told me that, you know what, why don't you go Facebook and then open an account, like a group chat. I said, I don't know how to do this. And so this person just taught me how to do the Facebook, how to do the group and stuff. And she said, create a group that's called M2 Lactation Club. And I said, okay. So I just followed, right? And you know what? Somebody messaged me. And that person, she said, are you selling M2? I said, yes. Sabi niya, can I resell M2? And during that time, I had no program for resellers. Yeah, and I said, because I can always say yes, right? And then after that, I took a nap. And then when I opened my cell phone again, and she said, oh, can I be as a reseller? And how much is the minimum? And I said, okay, since this is, a beginning, so I just said 100,000. And she said, can you give me your bank account? And then I went to sleep. When I woke up, I had 100,000 in my bank account. And so that was the first reseller that we had. And so today we have at least 120 resellers in the Philippines.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. From there, the question now is, okay, the business is starting to grow and improve.
Yes.
What were the things that you had to put into place to start growing the business? Because it's different now from doing it from the backyard, or rather from your condo, to putting up a small, I guess, manufacturing area to create it. How did you start coming about developing the manufacturing for M2?
We started at home, right? And then during the Changi days, we were able to go to an exhibit where DOST was there. And DOST, because we were also part of the Changi, and DOST said to us, you know what, I think you really have a very good product. Do you want to apply for a loan? And I said, sure. So I made an application and applied for a loan, and they gave me a loan of 1.5 million, zero interest. And that's where we had to start making M2 through the machines or the bottling. So we were only doing pasteurizing, or one big tank. And then from there, it grew. And today we have now a new facility in Laguna that's about 5,000 square meters that's able to produce 3,000 bottles per day.
Wow. And so the small one, the loan that you got from DOST was made to initially build a small, or they had a machine in DOST?
Oh, you have to look for the machine.
You have to look for the machine.
Yeah, and then the DOST will look at it, and then they will approve the...
That's right. Because I know there's another program for the UST where they actually lend you machines, but I guess that's
No,
for the other
yeah, yeah, yeah.
services, no. So
Yes.
so when that machine, I guess fully depreciated, that's when when you went larger, the larger batch,
Yes.
you had to loan out for a newer for the new factory plus the manufacturing equipment.
No, actually, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the first one was the first loan. And then
Oh.
the rest of it, when we put together the new factory, we didn't have a loan.
No more loans. So this is just purely
This is purely
from the
cash.
cash flow that you got
Yes.
from the wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
So to build this newer one over here.
Yeah.
And having said that, no, and the business started to grow. Can you just share with me when was the point that when you were doing the business that you just realized, what was your aha moment saying, oh my gosh, it's so big now, or parang look how big M2 has grown. When was that point for you?
Actually, no, there was that point like that eh. Because the way we were thinking, my husband was saying it's enough for us to have enough money to roof over our head and food on our table.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, all our employees are in our house. And they get free
Free board and
meals.
lodging.
Yeah, even electricity and stuff. So when it was growing, I wasn't parang saying, "Oh, it's growing na." No, but the for me was that because during the time their salaries were like, "Oh, ikaw muna today, tomorrow ikaw, the following day."
Oh, because you were
ikaw."
trying to budget the money.
Yeah.
Oo.
So and the aha moment for me was then when I was able to give the employees all the salaries all at the same time
Wow.
and all in the ATMs. So that was for me, and all the benefits, the 13-month pay. That was glory for the company.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Really great news. And as I'm looking also here right now at the products of M2, I often tell people, for businesses to succeed or to innovate, that you have to have that secret sauce, something that makes you different versus others. And for some, it's like it's your proprietary formula
Yes.
for developing Malunggay. Is this a formula that you've actually kept and improved upon? Tell me a bit more about developing this one, because to my mind, after you develop it, there's always going to be people who will try to, competitors who
Yeah.
will come up and want to compete because
Yeah.
they know that you have a market share. So tell us a bit more about
Yeah.
the formulation and then how you came up with it, what are you doing with it, and how do you sort of make sure that you stay competitive versus other people who are coming into the same space.
Yeah, so we're now 15 years in the market. And the very first one was M2 Ready to Drink. And it was just Malunggay. And we had it patented. And when I got married, I said to my husband, his name is Jojo Tamase. I said, it's so much work and so little profit. Because you cannot compete with the market. Because when you talk about ready to drink, you're like 35 pesos, 65 pesos. And and the amount that you need to cost for that. And you make income about 5 pesos. And it's like so much work, but so little profit. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe what we can do is make it a concentrate. And then my husband said, okay, so if you want to make concentrate, what are your parameters? I said, I want everything natural. So I said, okay, so to make it natural and say if it becomes sticky or within the consistency, let's use alugbati. Because alugbati is sticky, right? But then when we tried it, it has a certain smell, like the lupa thing, and it doesn't work. And I said, okay, let's try okra. And when we tried okra, there was no distinct taste, but it has this consistency na mas sticky siya. And then my husband said, so what about flavor? I said, I don't want to do anything that's unnatural. And then we said, okay, what about ginger? So there's ginger, there's turmeric, and the native ginger. And the turmeric, we tried it, and it was like, no, it can't be. It's there has a certain taste that you don't want, like curry stuff or lang. So, but then we went to the native ginger. Native ginger was so good. It was like a minty thing, and so that was it. Malunggay, okra, and luya. It was a pure imagination of I want when people read my label, it's so understandable that they can say, oh, easy.
Wow.
It's healthy. Yeah.
And then what do you do to ensure that I think that you continue to remain, I guess, competitive? Because I'm sure some people are backwards engineering the
Yes,
Malunggay okra ginger formula. What
Yeah.
what are you doing to make sure that that you stay competitive?
Uh, when we priced it in such a way that people will actually afford. And then there came a problem when the government started to put in the excise tax,
Mm-hmm.
and then you did not factor that, but we did not change the price.
Mm.
So what we wanted to do is to increase a little bit in the next 2 years just to cover a little bit, but we still are covering for the excise tax because we wanted to make sure that it's nice, it's affordable, and that when people will drink it, I mean, it's really something that they can enjoy. Yeah.
And there's been a lot of effort put into this one. 15 years in the business. What are you seeing right now in the market? What are the new opportunities? Do you see something growing for entrepreneurs out there, or particularly your business? What are you seeing as opportunities to add to the current space that you play in?
Um, 2 months ago, I was in Congress because we were trying to lobby that malunggay becomes a high value crop. And that's a group of that. It's called the Moringa Foundation, and they've been lobbying it. And I'm part of the group. And there was this doctor who made a presentation on a malnourished children of grade 3 and 4. And when the result came out, a child needs to have 9 grams of malunggay powder, because that's how they put it in their drink, in their pandesal, in their arroz caldo. A child needs 9 grams. And after the 6 months of the test, it actually made that child smarter.
Oh wow!
And it made the
But
child
have my kids start
healthier.
drinking this Malunggay M2 all of a sudden.
And so I approached her and I said, "Oh, sabi ko, ang galing naman, sana nasama si M2." And you know what she said? Alam mo, hindi kita sinabihan at hindi kami humingi ng donation sa'yo because we wanted to make sure that it's
Not biased,
brand.
no bias
Yeah.
study. Oo.
Yeah. But we were serving M2 every day.
Oh, okay.
And so, sabi ko, wow, grabe ha, ang galing pala.
Sige, maging endorser na yung mga anak ko ng M2 ha. Kailangan to sa math pati reading nila. Nakita ko. Okay.
Ayan.
Oo.
And then, so, I also became part of a convener of what we call the Scaling Up Nutrition. The Scaling Up Nutrition is part of the program of National Nutrition Council, which I represent. And recently, actually the other day, we launched what we call the Philippine National Nutrition Plan for 2003-2008. And part of that is to ensure that 42%, 24%, 28% of the population of the Philippines is actually malnourished and stunted. And 24% of that is in Metro Manila. And I said, wow. So if M2 had something to do with those children in the clinical study, this should be in public schools. They should be drinking M2. Or malunggay powder should be in their malunggay pandesal. Which, by the way, RJ, I created malunggay pandesal.
Ah, you did also as well, huh?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's a story for another day that we
Yes.
can talk about over there.
Yeah.
The way that I'm looking at it here right now is that you're seeing the business not purely as a business but rather as an advocacy. The same with I see Mercato
Yeah.
not just as a business but it's really
Yes.
advocacy to help support the growth of small food business,
Yes.
right? And help them become better entrepreneurs through the market as a platform. And I'm seeing that yours is really you have a bigger why now, which is really to solve the point of malnutrition in the
Yes.
country. Now, having said that, I understand that when you are a smaller business or like us entrepreneurs, that there's often a need for capital to really grow the business and scale it to what you imagine it to be. Are you looking at bringing in still after all the lessons learned? Are you looking to bring in other investors or strategic partners to be able to fulfill your advocacy? Because that's a large market. If you go to the public school, or do you plan to just keep on growing it yourself, or looking for I don't know, debt or equity to come into the company?
Some time ago, about 6 months ago, somebody came to us and they offered to put in an equity of $20 million. And I went to my husband, and he said, "We will just do this in our simple little ways. We grow small, we're steady, and we're able to just again go back, a roof on our head, food on our table,
Mhm.
and salaries to our employees. So plus because it's lesser stress.
Yes, yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've seen many startup founders, although with a lot of equity, but also a lot of
Yeah.
proportionate stress once you
Yes.
have other people investing into the company.
Yes. Yeah.
To each his own, actually. And having said that, are you seeing in that industry that you're in? Because right now you have the benefit of seeing what's
Yeah.
happening in the health industry and in the a bit of the beverage industry. Are there still opportunities for entrepreneurs to enter into this industry? And what particular, because
Yes.
sometimes they feel like, oh, it's all, all the businesses that we can do is it's out there already. But are there still areas, gray areas, or areas that entrepreneurs still have an opportunity to grow in?
I would say yes, no, especially if they have something in their hands that they have created. Look at your product and see how this product can help out in the communities. And if you believe that you have a great product, stay with it. Try selling it, even if it's at 2 pieces or 5 pieces. And then, you know, another day, the days roll from 2 to 3, then it becomes 10 and becomes 50. So you grow. And the most important thing is you love the product. You believe with your product. And then when you start creating it and innovating it, that's the time also when you listen to your customers. Kasi, let's say for example, for the
Ito, yung
M2
your
line.
diabetes-friendly
Yeah.
M2. Yes, with
Yeah. I mean,
stevia.
it just created last year.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people were saying already, what about for me that I'm diabetic and stuff. So yeah, so you create. So you listen to your customers.
I see.
And
This is also concentrate.
yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah. And amazingly when you mix this with water, the taste is like lychee.
Oh wow.
So it's like, wow.
I got to try all these drinks in the house
Yes,
for me
yes.
and my kids.
Yes.
Now, Zunita, let's say that I really particularly appreciate this session because it's been a learning process for you where you're taking it, and it's really like you said, it's God's economy, right? So there are a lot of
Yes.
lessons that you've actually shared with people. Now, if you were to speak to yourself 15 years ago, 20 years ago, what would be your best advice that you would have given your younger self, and also to other entrepreneurs listening over here? What would be your 2 to 3 key pieces of management advice that you've gained over the years to say, you know what, these are the things that you need to remember as you grow your business?
I would say one is really have to create something that's even if it's not unique, you have to believe that you have created something. And make it nice because you have created something. If it's a bag, make it really nice bag that and when people are staring at it and say, "Wow, I'd like to buy that." And then the passion. I mean, the passion is like really like even if you're sleeping, you're dreaming about it. And don't stop from your point of view. Just also connect to other people and ask opinion on what they think about your product. And finally, you just have to, if you don't have puhunan, a capital for that, start saving. I mean, you can always start small. And then when you are small, you're able to think about all the good things that you can do together. And if you fail, I mean, yeah, I failed twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always go back to where you started, that you have a good product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it also takes, something that you're not saying over here, but I think I can read it, is that it takes a lot of humility to be a good entrepreneur. Because, if you fail twice, it can go straight to your ego and say, oh, hindi ko na kaya to, ayoko na to, di ba?
Right.
But you didn't see that as failure for yourself, di
You know,
ba?
it was even my son who said that, "Ma, please, magtrabaho ka na.
Mm.
Tama na yung M2." And even if my son said that, I did not feel like, no, I'm going to stop. No, I just didn't have that feeling of saying stop it. Because I knew that, if God was saying something to me, na you do this and I'll take care of you. And he did. One is that he fixed my health. Imagine him, 20 years of diabetic. And yet I have, oh, praise God that I'm not still into insulin, right? And
Yes.
still very controlled. And our employees are still there with us. The first employee after 15 years is still with us, and we're growing. And I see my employees, when you talk about them, they have their own motorcycle, they have started to build their own houses, and they have little stores. Those are something for me that to look after so many years from now, and a little Miss Zonito, and saying, yeah, you believe what you wanted to be. But I was clueless. Really, I didn't. I was clueless of what I was gonna be. But right now, I really want. I love being in your show, because now we can talk a lot about this, and people would actually say, "Yeah, I don't know M2, and now I know M2." Because previously, no one knows M2. But if you have like a 10 people in the group and said, "Who knows M2?" and then at least one would know.
That's right. And what I like is that, it goes back to everybody's why, right? And the nice thing about, I often tell people that I usually give entrepreneurship talks, and the last part I say that sometimes you have to develop a product that is meaningful and relevant, particularly to our Gen Z and millennial friends, because you want to create a product that in your own little way you're changing the world. And I can see that in your own little way that moringa, okra, and ginger are changing the world, one pre-diabetic or lactating mom at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
And plus, because all our ingredients are local. So you have farmers, and we have a community of farmers of the Malunggay that they actually produce. They plant and they harvest. And then you have okra and then the luya. You can just imagine if we sell 1 million, 2 billion, it's how dynamic the farmers would be.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're not only just helping people's health, but we're also helping our farmers here at the same time. So really, really great, purposeful product. And with that, thank you so much, Zonito, for guesting here on the RJ Ledesma podcast. Hope you guys learned a lot from this podcast. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. Again, thanks so much. We will see you in the next episode of the RJ Ledesma podcast. Thanks, guys.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.